This is a two-part question, but I'm going to start with the first part being, and I think I've asked you this, but I'm just going to ask again. What was the first album you bought with your own money?
Oh.
Or ask someone to get for you?
Or ask someone to get for me. Like Mini Pop's Christmas, probably.
That's the first time the Mini Pops have come up.
Seriously?
I'm surprised.
Oh, man.
I mean, New Kids numerous times.
Yeah.
But
No,
Mini Pops.
Mini Pops predated New Kids. Yeah, I don't know. The first album that I actually bought with my own money was probably Nevermind. I got it at Zellers.
You remember?
Yeah.
But I want to jump into this question, which, were you ever into comedy albums?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a bit about that. What was maybe one of the first ones that you've listened to?
Bill Cosby himself got a lot of play at my house. My dad's a comedy guy. My mom is, like, to a lesser extent, but my dad's a big comedy guy. So there was a lot of Bill Cosby growing up. It was in the 80s, so The Cosby Show was in full swing. And we used to listen to his stand-up albums. I was home visiting my parents over Christmas, and we had this really kind of dark conversation about, so what of our stuff do you want when we die? And I said I wanted Dad's comedy albums, but I didn't care about the Bill Cosbys. I said I didn't care what happened to them. Later, when I got to be a little bit older, when I was like 12 or 13, then I was allowed to listen to George Carlin, and that was very exciting.
Did you come to Fredericton as a kid? Or did you just go to Moncton St. John?
I mean, well, both my parents were teachers, so we used to come sometimes for, like, teachers' conferences and that kind of thing. But I didn't spend a ton of time here. I moved when I was 19, I think, 98. No, I was 20. Yeah.
And did you go to school?
Yeah, I came here for school. I went to Atlantic Business College for a year, and it was a terrible decision because it was very expensive, and I got basically nothing out of it. I learned how to use WordPerfect 7.
That's still relevant.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
How did you, or when did you decide to get into comedy?
It's weird because it, like, in a way, it's something that I always kind of envisioned myself doing, like as a kid even, but I didn't. It didn't seem like it was something that was possible to do in New Brunswick because we, like, until a year ago, we didn't even have a comedy club here, like not one. And no one was doing DIY stuff really until the Wilsers Room stuff happened a couple years ago. I used to go to the early Wilsers shows with, like, John Bailey and Trevor Muxworthy and Meg McKay and BJ Worthy and all those people. I used to go to those shows really, really religiously. And I remember being a little drunk one time and going up to Meg and being like, I want to do this. Put me on the list. I want to do this. But it took another 3 years after that for me to actually work up the nerve to do it.
3 years?
Yeah, I think so.
That's wow.
I have diagnosed anxiety.
I was gonna say that's an incubator period. But yeah, no, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, you know what? Like, a lot of performers, I've noticed, it's funny because we like art, and we like to express ourselves whatever way, but we don't really like people. Yeah. It's strange.
You're not wrong.
You get your first taste. Was it at Wilsers Room?
Yeah.
Okay, can we maybe, if you could remember what that first night was like for you?
I remember tweeting, oh my God, I want to do this every night for the rest of my life. It was really good.
That much of an impact.
Yeah.
That guy, Jeff Frost, is it, who we just mentioned? Yeah, he was saying he said what happened to him, this is me last night listening, and he was saying what happened to him was he was in Jersey, and he had this experience where he wanted to try it, and he didn't think, he always felt he could, but he didn't know, and he went up and he said, his first time was awesome. Everyone liked it. And the next 25 times he bombed. But he said but it was because the first time was so memorable. Is that a similar experience?
Yeah. My second time, my second show ever was opening for Kathleen McGee at the Capitol, at the Capitol itself downstairs. And I did exactly the same set that I had done at Wilsers 2 weeks before, and just crickets. So I don't know. But I mean, I was not deterred, clearly.
Well, no, but that's amazing. I no, I totally respect it. I don't have the courage to do what you do. I don't. I'm okay here, but to go up front and do, because to be honest with you, I love to laugh, and I can totally see how cool it is to write ideas down and try to put them out there, but to go up there and do it, and I've seen you perform. We have video of you performing, and you seem very comfortable. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like to do that. So how do you deal with, social anxiety and comedy?
These days I'm pretty well medicated, and that's a huge help. And yeah, I mean, like I'm fortunate in that I haven't had like a big string of like 25 bad shows in a row, because that might end me. But I'll have, one or two in a row that aren't great, but then the next one after that will be fine and good, and it's just, it's like, it's a wave. You just ride it.
I was in awe of how much of yourself you put into it, and how you would take stuff that is really personal, because that's how you connect with your audience, but you put stuff out there. How do you come up with material?
I've been asked this before, and sometimes the answer is I think about the last thing that made me cry, and I write jokes about it. I don't know, just like with writing in general, I find that the best way to stop yourself from being a hack and from copying other people is just to make it as personal as you possibly can.
For you, what do you enjoy more, the writing or the performing, or both? Or do you see them as separate pieces? Like,
yeah, they're definitely they're very separate. I don't enjoy writing. I enjoy having written.
You don't enjoy writing?
No, it's painful.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I'm just curious. Like, is it the process of it, or?
It's just getting out of my head enough to like actually like sit down and do it. And I've read books and heard lots of advice, and some of it's helpful and some of it isn't. The best advice I've heard lately was from Dan Harmon, of all people, and he talks about how you can just decide to write something shitty.
Best thing about a phone for me is not social media or calling anyone. It's I have a notepad.
Yeah, same.
And that's it. Like I write, and when I see you online, you make me laugh. Your Facebook stuff is hilarious, and you have a lot of great. And again, it's observational humor that you're bringing out. So that's why I was kind of shocked when you said you didn't like writing, because I just felt like, oh, I felt like that would be the thing you would do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you include like tweets and Facebook posts, then yeah, it's awesome. I love it. But I mean, to sit down and be like, okay, I need to come up with some new material. Like it can be very daunting.
How would you describe a Fredericton comedy audience?
It varies. It really, really does. Like the audience that we get at the Abbey and the audience that we had at, like I did one show at Bellwether back in the fall that was really fun, versus an audience you get at Wilzer's. They're completely different. The Abbey and Bellwether were much younger crowds. A lot of like art school kids, a lot of LGBT people, whereas Wilzer's, you'll get a lot of university students, and it depends on the night of the week too. Like Thursdays and Saturdays are completely different.
You get random people off the street.
Yeah, like especially on Saturdays. Like the last show I did at Wilzer's, I bombed so hard. And I went up first, and I was happy to do it. But the front row, it was these 5 dudes from the base, and they were not into me. And they were talking amongst themselves, and I had to stop and be like, hey, if you're going to sit in the front row, just, but yeah.
Did you ever, because you're a nice person, you probably wouldn't do this, but does that almost make you want to put a target on them? Or you just don't avoid confrontation?
Well, I mean, like, it's not that I want to avoid confrontation, but you're right. I am a nice person, and I don't want to, like, insult someone who's just out on the town and trying to have a good time. But I mean, at the same time, I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. And if you're not into it, that's fine. I'm not upset by that. Just, you know, like if you want to talk to your friends, go outside.
And I'm kind of ignorant, but I think of Wilsers first.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Like the first comedy show I ever went to in Fredericton was there. So
it's not a bad space.
it's better now that they've done some renovations, because when comedy shows were first happening there, like the stage was like at the back of the room, like where the door is.
Yeah.
So people would be on stage doing their thing, and people are coming in and out, and
the
you know,
worst.
it's not ideal.
Women in local comedy, because remember I was telling you that when I went my first time, I was like at Wilsers, I was discouraged because there was just so many stupid jokes, like dead baby jokes kind of deal. Like it just wasn't. I thought like, you know, shock value was the trick, but then I felt that it seemed like the women were elevating the material and influencing that. Would you say that's true?
I would say that's true. I know not everyone would agree. You'll be happy to know that the dead baby guy got his PhD and has since left Fredericton.
Wow. Yeah. They're just giving them out to anybody.
Yeah, they are.
PhD in what? Being an asshole? Were you guys kind of reclaiming comedy to a certain point, or was it just like you just wanted to provide, let people know that there is something else there?
Yeah, that's what it was. Is like we wanted to set up a show where, hey, you can bring your female friends, you can bring your gay friends, your trans friends, whoever your friends are. You can bring them, and they're not going to be made to feel unwelcome.
Right.
Because I know that can, you know, at some of the other shows, that's definitely a problem. And I've talked to lots of people who are just like, you know what, I am never, ever, ever going to go to another show at Wilsers where so-and-so is on the bill, just because I was just so uncomfortable with what they were saying. Which, I mean, that's not to say that that's always a bad thing. Like, I think comedy should be challenging, but ironically, like it's an art form that really prides itself on being, you know, edgy and challenging, like I said, but in practice it often ends up being kind of regressive. And
no, that's what you and I were talking about off camera before, was that there's a difference between, like, when you're watching people that use I would say controversial, or for lack of a word, shocking material, and the people have been around for a long time doing it professionally, it's always in a way that is satire, and in a way that's actually flipped upside down to do it.
Right.
Like, it's meant to be like another side. But what really put me off was that's it.
yeah,
That's all you got. And then when I saw you guys, you were bringing in, what they weren't bringing in was situational comedy. Like, to me, it was like they were too afraid to put themselves really out there, so
Yeah.
they would objectify everything else. You guys, on the other hand, were self-deprecating and putting your guys' own vulnerabilities out for display.
yeah.
It's crazy.